By the time I got home that night, my chest felt like somebody had strapped a cinder block to it. The clinic had been chaos all day. Short-staffed, overbooked, and underpaid. Like always. Room 3 was a diabetic foot infection that should have been seen last week. Room 6 was a little boy with asthma whose mama kept apologizing for not having insurance. Somewhere between charting vitals and changing a dressing, my sister texted me a picture of Mama's light bill with that one-word message that always made my stomach twist. Again, past due, final notice, power scheduled for shutoff on Friday. I had exactly $126 left after rent and groceries. The bill was $189, so I did what I always do. I told myself, we'll figure it out. Then I picked up an extra 2 hours at the clinic, swallowed the headache pounding behind my eyes, and smiled through every thank you baby from people who didn't know I was one missed paycheck away from sitting in the dark too. By the time I pushed open our apartment door, it was close to 10 p.m. I could hear laughter from the living room, loud and loose. That particular kind of male laughter that smells like cheap beer and video games. The air was thick with pizza grease and weed. I towed my shoes off by the door and stood there for a second, letting my eyes adjust. Malik was on the couch in his favorite spot, one arm thrown over the back like a king on a throne. Dre and Ty were on the floor, controllers in hand, arguing over a 2K game. "Yo, there she is," Dre said, grinning when he saw me. "Nurse Renee, saving lives and whatnot." "I'm not a nurse," I said automatically, my voice smaller than I meant. "I'm a medical assistant." Same argument, different day. Malik looked back over his shoulder at me. He didn't get up, didn't pause the game. Just gave me that lazy half smile I used to think was charming. "Hey, baby," he said. "You good?" I opened my mouth to say, "Yeah, I'm fine," like I always did. The words were right there, lined up, ready to march out and keep the peace. But something snagged. Maybe it was the unopened mail stacked on the counter. Maybe it was the mental math of $126 versus $189. Maybe it was the way my lower back ached from standing for 10 hours straight, while he'd been home for most of the day. Whatever it was, the lie got stuck in my throat. "Actually, no," I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange even to me. "I'm not good." The room went a little quieter. Not silent, just curious. Like when the game glitches for half a second. Malik chuckled, eyes still on the screen. "Oh, here we go," he said. "What happened now?" I walked to the kitchen table and dropped my bag on the chair. My hands were shaking. I hadn't even pulled my scrubs top off yet. It smelled like antiseptic and sweat. "Mom's light bill is past due again," I said. "Final notice. They're turning it off Friday. We're 2 weeks behind on Wi-Fi. The car needs an oil change, and I bought groceries on the credit card again, because your paycheck didn't hit when you said it would." I hadn't meant to list it like that. The words just tumbled out raw and ugly. Ty shifted on the floor. Dre suddenly found something very interesting on his phone. Malik finally paused the game, slowly, like doing me a favor. He twisted around to look at me fully, eyebrows raised. "Damn, Renee," he said. "You really coming in here killing the vibe like that?" I felt heat crawl up my neck. "I'm not trying to kill anything," I said. "I'm scared. I worked a double today. I'm exhausted. I can't keep doing this by myself. I need help. I need you to take this seriously." My voice cracked on scared. I didn't want it to. I bit the inside of my cheek hard enough to taste copper, but it was too late. The tears were already burning behind my eyes. "I'm out there trying," he said, spreading his hands. "You know the job situation been weird. Why you acting like I'm just sitting around?" I glanced at the coffee table. 3 empty beer cans, 1 half-smoked blunt, the game controller still warm in his hand. I didn't say anything about it. I just felt something inside me bend. "I'm not saying you're doing nothing," I said. "I'm saying I'm tired of being the only one panicking. You don't see the bills. You don't call the companies. You don't talk to the doctor about Mama. You don't. My voice broke completely. The dam snapped. I dropped into the chair at the table and put my face in my hands. The first sob ripped out of me so fast it scared me. The second one came right behind it. It wasn't pretty crying. It was exhausted, shoulder shaking, ugly crying. The kind that's half grief, half terror, half I have tried everything and I don't know what else to do. The room went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. And then I heard it. Malik's laugh. Not the warm one he uses when a baby does something cute. Not the soft one from our early days when we stayed up all night talking about dreams. This laugh was sharp, cruel. It sliced through my sobs like glass. "Oh my God," he said, and I could hear the grin in his voice. "Yo, y'all see this?" I looked up, blinking through tears. My vision was blurry, but I could still make out the smirk on his face. "My girl over here having a meltdown over a light bill," he said, wiping at his own dry eyes in a fake crying gesture. "We gonna be in the dark, Malik. Oh my God, what are we gonna do?" Drake coughed out a nervous laugh. Ty tried not to, but he did too. That hurt worse than I expected. "Malik, chill," Ty muttered under his breath. "She just tired, bro." "Nah, man," Malik said, leaning back like he was on stage. "This is what I be talking about. She too emotional. Everything's the end of the world. She can't handle pressure. I swear, sometimes I feel like I'm married to a child." He looked right at me then, right into my red, swollen eyes. "You too weak for me, Renee." The words landed with a thud in my chest. Too weak. I had just worked 12 hours on my feet, reused my lunch break to make payment arrangements for his traffic ticket, answered a nurse's call on my off day, and filled my mama's pillbox before I went to work. But I was too weak. Something went very, very still inside me. It was like all the sound in the room faded to a low hum. I could see his lips still moving. I could see Dre looking anywhere but at me. My voice didn't shake this time. "Got it." He snorted. "Girl, don't start. You know what I mean." "I know exactly what you mean," I said. I picked up my bag, pulled out my wallet, and slid the folded light bill out. The red final notice stamp looked loud in the dim kitchen. "I'll figure this out," I said, more to myself than to him. "Like I always do." He shrugged, already reaching for the controller again. "See, that's what I'm saying. You always stressing, but it always works out. You be doing too much." Ty's eyes met mine for half a second. There was something like apology there. It didn't help much. I walked to the bedroom and closed the door gently. Not a slam, just a soft click. I leaned against it and exhaled so slowly it almost hurt. That was the moment. Not the tears, not the laugh, not even the sentence that would echo in my head for weeks. "You're too weak for me." The moment was the quiet that came after. The part where I realized I believed him less than I ever had, and I believed myself more. If he thought I was weak, good. He could keep that fantasy. While he laughed with his friends, I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and stared at the number in my account. $126. I opened another tab and typed, "Credit union near me." If Malik thought I was too weak, that was fine. He was about to find out exactly how dangerous a weak woman could be once she stopped crying for a man and started planning a life without him. Karma didn't show up with lightning and sirens. It came as numbers on a screen. The next morning, I went to the credit union on my lunch break. I didn't tell Malik where I was going. He thought I was running to Dollar Tree real quick. The woman at the desk had soft eyes and a name tag that said Rhonda. She asked me what kind of account I wanted to open. "Just something small," I said, twisting my hands in my lap. "Savings only, no card, no checks, automatic transfer from my paycheck every 2 weeks." "How much you thinking?" she asked. I thought of Mama's light bill, of the empty space in my own account every month, of Malik's laugh, sharp and cruel, hanging over the coffee table. $50, I said, to start. Rhonda smiled like that was a perfectly reasonable number. 50 grows, she said. You'd be surprised how fast it adds up once you make it a habit. I named it emergency fund on the form. In my head, I called it exit plan. I didn't change anything big at first. I still paid rent. I still covered Wi-Fi because I needed it for charting and his PS5 needed it for 2K. I still bought groceries, still dropped off groceries at Mama's, still answered when my sister texted again. The difference was invisible, on purpose. Instead of ordering DoorDash when I got off a late shift, I ate leftovers. Instead of letting Malik swipe my card just this once, I told him, card's locked, bank flagged it. Every paycheck, $50 slid into that quiet little account. Then 75, then 100. When the clinic gave us a small bonus for covering that nasty flu wave, I didn't tell him about it at all. It went straight to the credit union. He didn't notice. He noticed other things. He noticed when I stopped sitting on the couch with him and his friends while they talked in circles about one-day money. One day, Dre's podcast would blow up. One day, Ty's cousin would put them on at the club. One day, Malik's clothing brand would take off. I started spending my evenings in the bedroom with my laptop instead. At first, the noise from the living room annoyed me. Then it became background static. I watched free online classes about EKG certification. I updated my resume. I filled out job applications for hospitals that paid more, with real benefits and tuition help. When Malik knocked on the door, I'd minimize the window and pretend I was watching Netflix. "You always working," he'd complain. "You don't ever just chill no more." "I'll chill when things stop being urgent," I'd say. He'd roll his eyes, kiss my forehead, and go back to the living room. 3 months later, karma cleared its throat. Malik worked at a warehouse, nothing fancy but steady. Or so he said. That Friday he came home earlier than usual, holding a thin white envelope. He tossed it on the table like it had burned him. "Company's restructuring," he said, doing air quotes. "We all got let go." I picked up the envelope. Severance, 1 week's pay, and a brochure about new opportunities. I waited for the fear to spike the way it usually did. We're going to drown. We're going to starve. We're going to be homeless. It didn't. The fear was there, sure. But underneath it was this quiet, steady floor. A balance I could pull up on my phone. 4 figures now. Not life-changing money, but months of careful saying no to myself and quietly telling other people yes. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "What's the plan?" Malik shrugged. "I'm a file for unemployment. Dre said his cousin might be hiring at the car wash. I ain't stressing, though. Something will come through." There it was again. That weightless, consequence-free confidence. I thought about the light bill, the Wi-Fi, my car payment, the fact that our landlord had slipped a renewal notice under the door with a $75 rent increase in bold. "I need you to actually look," I said. "Like applications, Indeed, agencies, whatever. We can't float this forever." He kissed my cheek. "You worry too much. You always land on your feet. You got this." It took everything in me not to flinch. "You got this. Not we." 2 weeks later, he still hadn't found anything real. He had a meeting with a guy about starting something that never turned into anything but new excuses. That's when he came up with his big idea. "We should get a loan," he said one night, pacing the living room with wild energy. "Just a small one, 10, 15 grand. I start my line for real. Shirts, hats, all that. I know people." We flip it, pay the bank back, and boom, no more stressing over bills. "Malik," I said slowly, "we barely keep up with the bills we have. Why would a bank give us more debt?" He grinned. "Your credit good, right? They'll look at you and me together. We married. That's how it works. Power couple type deal." There was that word again. We. Convenient. I wanted to say no right then, but a different kind of idea slid in behind my anger. "Okay," I said. "Let's go talk to them. Together." He lit up, already pulling out his phone. "Bet. I'll set it up." The credit union smelled like paper and lemon cleaner. Same place I'd sat months ago, palms sweating. sliding $50 across the counter to start my invisible life. We sat side by side at Rhonda's desk. She greeted me by name. That got Malik's attention. "Y'all know each other?" he asked. "She's one of my regulars," Rhonda said warmly. "Ms. Renee stays on top of her stuff." That was the first little crack. Malik cleared his throat and leaned forward, turning on that charm. "We're looking into a personal loan," he said. "For a business venture. Nothing crazy. 15,000, just to get started." Rhonda nodded, fingers already moving on the keyboard. "All right, we'll run the numbers and see what we can do. We'll need to pull both of your credit files, since this will be joint." Joint. Malik squeezed my knee under the desk, like we were a team. "Do your thing," he said. "My wife's got good credit. We solid." I watched her face as she read the screen. I watched the way her smile dimmed just a little. She turned the monitor slightly so we couldn't see. Professional courtesy, I guess. "Okay," she said carefully. "So here's where we're at. Based on Mr. Harris's current score and debt-to-income ratio, we're not able to approve this amount jointly." Malik laughed like she told a joke. "You mean individually, right? Run it with just her then. She pays everything anyway." He said it lightly, a joke, not a lie. Rhonda's eyes cut to mine. "We actually have run her file," she said. "Individually, Ms. Renee qualifies for several products." He stopped laughing. "Wait, how? We got the same bills." "No." "Sir," she said gently, "you have shared rent and utilities. But the accounts in her name? They've been paid on time. Regularly. Her savings has a solid history." He turned to look at me fully then. "Savings," he repeated. There it was, the moment my weakness stopped being invisible. I met his eyes, steady. "Yeah," I said, "savings." His voice dropped. "Since when you got a savings?" "Since you told me I was too weak for you," I said quietly. "Since the night I cried at the table, and you turned it into a stand-up routine." Rhonda looked between us, realizing this was no longer a normal loan appointment. "I can give you 2 a minute," she said softly. "It's fine," I said. "Go ahead and print what you need, please." As the printer hummed, Malik leaned closer. "So you've been hiding money from me now?" "Yes," I said. "I've been protecting myself, and Mama, and my sanity." He scoffed. "Wow, that's crazy. You really flipped on me over one joke? That's what this is?" "One joke?" I repeated. My voice didn't rise, but my whole body felt like it was buzzing. "You laughed at me when I was scared we'd lose power. You called me weak in front of your boys. You watched me carry everything and told me to stop stressing, while you smoked and played games. This isn't about a joke, Malik. This is about a pattern." Rhonda slid a few papers across the desk. "Ms. Renee," she said, "this is the pre-approval for your personal line of credit and the paperwork to separate your accounts if you choose to. There's also information about individual financial counseling, if that's helpful. Separate your accounts." Malik's head snapped back to me. "Separate?" he repeated. "What's she talking about?" I took the pen. My hand didn't shake. "I already talked to her last week," I said. "I came in on my break. I asked what it would take to close our joint account, transfer my direct deposit, and start over, alone." He laughed, but there was no humor in it this time. It came out jagged. "You playing? Where are you gonna go, huh? You think you can just walk out and everything will magically be better?" I signed the first form, then the second. Each stroke of ink felt like laying down bricks on the floor underneath my feet. "I don't think it'll be magic," I said. "I think it'll be hard, and quiet, and maybe lonely. But I know one thing for sure. I know one thing for sure. I won't have somebody calling me weak for feeling human while I kill myself to keep us afloat." I slid the signed papers back to Rhonda. "Please finalize the separation," I said. "My direct deposit goes into the new account starting next pay period." Malik stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. "So that's it?" he asked. "You just done?" My chest hurt, but not the same way it had that night at the kitchen table. That night it had felt like something was crushing me from the outside. Today it felt like something heavy was finally lifting. I'm done carrying a grown man who thinks empathy is weakness, I said. I'm done being your cushion. I'm done begging for partnership from somebody who only sees me as backup. His voice cracked. Renee, come on. I was just talking that night. You know how we joke. You really gonna throw away a marriage over some rough months? I thought about the dozens of rough months that had only been rough for me. The nights I lay awake doing math in my head while he snored beside me. The way he told people, my girl got it. Like my anxiety was a talent he could exploit. No, I said softly. I'm not throwing away a marriage. I'm accepting that I've been in one by myself. The loan was denied. The joint account was closed. My credit line was approved. And the same man who had laughed at my tears looked like he might actually start crying in front of a stranger at a desk. Karma didn't knock him out in one punch that day, but it swung. When we walked out to the parking lot, he grabbed my arm. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to try to hold on. So what now? He asked, eyes wild. You leaving? For real? I looked at the tiny, tired car that I paid for, at the tired woman in the windshield reflection who suddenly looked less tired. Yeah, I said. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. His voice dropped to a whisper. You can't do this without me. I thought about my quiet little savings, the interview I had in 2 days at a hospital across town, the studio apartment I'd already been approved for, deposit waiting at the credit union. I've been doing this without you, I said. You just didn't notice. For the first time since I'd known him, Malik didn't have a comeback. No joke, no laugh, just silence. On the drive home, he stared out the window, fingers tapping his knee. On the drive home, I stared at the road, hands steady on the wheel. He thought my tears had proved I was weak. He didn't understand that the quiet that came after proved I was finally strong enough to leave. Karma wasn't a random storm that rolled over his life. Karma was me, slowly, carefully, taking my hands off a man who refused to see their worth.